though she'd been careful to stay concealed, but she'd heard the straw rustle beside her. The committee had tracked her down. "Is that your handwriting, isn't it? Oh, is that your handwriting, Miss Earwig?" she said. "That's cruel. That ain't nice." "We've decided you're to go to talk to Miss Weatherwax," said Lettice. "She's got to stop it." Stop what?" "She's doing something to people's heads. She'd come here to put the fluence on us, right? Everyone knows she does head magic. We can all feel it. She's spoiling it for everyone." "She's only just sitting there," said Nanny. "Ah, yes. But how is she sitting there? May we ask?" Nanny peered around the stall again. "Oh, well, like normal. You know, bent in the middle and the knees and, Lettice waved a finger sternly. "Now you listen to me, Gaitha Og. If you want her to go away, you go tell her," she snapped. "I'm fed up," and then there was the piercing scream of a child. The witches stared at one another, then ran across the field to the lucky dip. A small boy was writhing on the ground, sobbing. It was Pusey, Nanny's youngest grandchild, her stomach turned to ice. She snatched him up and glared into Granny's face. "What have you done to him?" she began.
"I don't want a dolly, I want a dolly, I want a dolly. I want a soldier, I want a soldier."
Nanny looked down at the rag doll in Pusey's sticky hand, and the expression of affronted, tearful rage on such of his face as could be seen around his screaming mouth.
"Oh, I want a soldier!"
And then at the other witches, and then at Granny Weatherwax's face, and felt the horrible, cold shame welling up from her boots.
"I said he could put it back and have another go," said Granny. "But he just wouldn't listen. I want a soldier!"
"Oh, Pusey Og, if you don't shut up right this minute, Nanny will," Nanny Og began, and dredged up the nastiest punishment she could think of. "Nanny won't give you a sweetie ever again." Pusey closed his mouth, stunned into silence by this unimaginable threat. Then, to Nanny's horror, Lettice Earwig drew herself up and said, "Miss Weatherwax, we would prefer it if you left."
"Am I being a bother?" said Granny. I hope I'm not being a bother. I don't want to be a bother. He just took a lucky dip and...
"You're upsetting people." Any minute now, Nanny thought. Any minute now. She's going to raise her head and narrow her eyes. And if Lettice doesn't take 2 steps backward, she'll be a lot tougher than me.
"I can't stay and watch," Granny said quietly.
"I know your game," said Lettice. "You're planning to spoil it, aren't you? You can't stand the thought of being beaten, so you're intending something nasty." 3 steps back, Nanny thought, else there won't be anything left but bones any minute now.
"Oh, I wouldn't like to think I was spoiling anything,"
said Granny. She sighed and stood up.
"I'll be off home."
"No, you won't." "No, you won't," snapped Nanny Og, pushing her back down. "What do you think of this, Beryl Dismas? And you, Letty Parkin?"
"They're all..." Lettice began.
"I was not talking to you." The witches behind Miss Earwig avoided Nanny's gaze.
"Well, it's not that... we don't think..." began Beryl awkwardly. "Well, that is, I've always had a lot of respect for her, but, well, it is for everyone."
Her voice trailed off. Lettice looked triumphant.
"Really?"
"I think we had better be going after all, then," said Nanny. "I don't like the company in these parts." She looked around. "Agnes, you going to give me a hand to get Granny home?"
"I don't really need..."
Granny began, but the other two each took an arm and gently propelled her through the crowd, which parted to let them through and turned to watch them go. "Probably the best for all concerned in the circumstances," said Lettice. Several of the witches tried not to look her in the face. There were scraps of material all over the floor in Granny's kitchen, and gouts of congealed jam had dripped off the edge of the table and formed an immovable mound on the floor. The jam saucepan had been left in the stone sink to soak, although it was clear that the iron would rust away before the jam ever softened. There was a row of empty pickle jars as well. Granny sat down and folded her hands in her lap. "You want a cup of tea, Esme?" said Nanny Ogg. No, dear, thank you. You get back to the trials. Don't worry about me. Are you sure? I'll just sit here, quiet. Don't worry. I'm not going back, Agnes hissed as they left. Oh. I'm not going back, Agnes hissed as they left. I don't like the way Lettice smiles. Oh, you once told me you don't like the way Esme frowns, said Nanny. Yeah, but you can trust a frown. You don't think she's losing it, do you? No, no one will be able to find it if she has, said Nanny. No, you come back with me. I'm sure she's planning something. I wish the hell I knew what it was, she thought. I'm not sure I can take any more waiting. You could feel the mounting tension before they reached the field. Of course, there was always tension. That was part of it. But this had a sour, unpleasant taste. The sideshows were still going on, but ordinary folk were leaving, spooked by the sensations they couldn't put their finger on, which nevertheless had them under their thumb. As for the witches themselves, they had that look worn by actors about 2 minutes from the end of a horror movie when they know the monster is about to make its final leap, and now it's only a matter of which door. Lettice was surrounded by witches. Nanny could hear raised voices. She nudged another witch, who was watching gloomily. Oh, what's happening, Winnie? Oh, Rena Trump made a pig's ear to her piece, and her friends say she ought to have another go because she's so nervous. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, Big Roe Johnson ran off because her spell went wrong. Left under a bit of a cloud, did she? I was all thumbs when I had to go. You could be in with a chance, Gartha. Oh, I've never been one for prizes, Winnie. You know me. It's the fun of taking part that counts. The other witch gave her a skewed look. You almost made that sound believable, she said. Gammer Beavis hurried over. Oh, on you go, Gartha, she said. Do your best, eh? The only contender so far is Mrs. Weavitt and her whistling frog, and it wasn't as if it could even carry a tune. Poor thing was a bundle of nerves. Nanny Ogg shuddered and walked out into the roped-off area. Somewhere in the distance someone having hysterics, punctuated by an occasional worried whistle. Unlike the magic of wizards, the magic of witches did not usually involve the application of much raw power. The difference is between hammers and levers. Witches generally tried to find the small point where a little change made a lot of result. To make an avalanche, you can either shake the mountain, or you can find just exactly the right place to drop a snowflake. This year, Nanny had idly been working on the Man of Straw. It was an ideal trick for her. It got a laugh. It was a bit suggestive. It was a lot easier than it looked, but showed she was joining in, and it was unlikely to win. Damn, though, she'd been relying on that frog to beat her. She heard it whistling quite beautifully on the summer evenings. She concentrated. Pieces of straw rustled through the stubble. All she had to do was use the little bits of wind that drifted across the field, allowed her to move here and here, spiral up, and... She tried to stop her hands from shaking. She'd done this 100 times. She could tie the damn stuff in knots by now. She kept seeing the face of Esme Weatherwax, and the way she just sat there, looking puzzled and hurt, while for a few seconds Nanny had been ready to kill. For a moment she managed to get the legs right, and a suggestion of arms and head, and there was a smattering of applause from the watchers. Then an errant eddy caught the thing before she could concentrate on its first step, and it spun down just a lot of useless straw.